see you guys. It has been
a minute. It's been a
couple of weeks.
It's been a minute.
It's been a
couple
of weeks.
We live.
Well, you are watching the Well Encounter.
Yeah.
Make sure that if you're on, you go ahead, like this post, share this post, comment, let us know that you're here. Go ahead, post it on your page. Go ahead, post it on your friend's page or tag your friends in it. Folks who might enjoy the conversation. Make sure that if you're in a group, go ahead and put it in the group chat or whoever you're chatting with. And to all our folks on YouTube, we welcome you too. We're glad to see you guys.
Gang.
We're always just happy to have everybody in the place. And this is, again, the Well Encounter. Miss Nikki's on. I see Giovanni is on and present.
Yo.
Good to see you, Giovanni. Always glad to have you, brother. Who is a superstar himself, if I might say.
Woo.
But yeah, we're just glad to have everybody on. We got a good conversation for you guys tonight.
It's an interesting conversation.
It is a very interesting conversation, and we have two great guests that I think you guys will really enjoy once we bring them in. Listen.
What we doing?
Let's talk about the Well.
Let's talk about
So it is a creative arts and conscious awareness community, faith community.
Yeah.
So we invite you to be a part of our community. Make sure you let us know how we can stay in touch with you. If you're not on our email list, make sure you DM me or DM the Well your email so that we can let you know and keep you abreast of what's going on in the community. Come 2022, we're going to do a lot of stuff. Is that Mama Dent? Hey!
Is that Mama Dent for real?
Hey, Mama Dent. It's good to have you on.
I was just talking about you earlier. Hey, what's up?
Always good to have her on. Listen.
It's about to get real tonight now.
Listen.
It's about to get real.
We always know what time it is. So with the Well, we've got a basic theme. We want you to encounter the Well. We want you to become the Well. And then we want you to emerge and share the Well. Those words are synonymous with things like encounter Jesus, become like Jesus, emerge and share Jesus. God bless. Encounter love, become love, and emerge and share love. And encounter light, become light, emerge and share light. Oh, and I got a new one. Encounter the vibe. Become the vibe.
Hey,
emerge and share the vibe.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
You must have got that on your vacation.
On vacation. Only because I got a nickname on the vacation that I was one of the vibes on the vacation. So
where you got called a vibe?
I got called a vibe on vacation, man. Listen.
Are you a celebrity now?
Listen, man. To everybody, if you have not taken time for yourself, take some time for yourself. I took a whole week, went to the Bahamas, went to Mexico, had a great time. Met a lot of great people. They might even be watching on Facebook tonight because I friended a lot of them. So
man, you better hope you don't snitch when you do.
Listen, no snitching, no snitching. Snitches get ditches. No, okay. So moving forward, Jawan, good to see you, my brother. Tonight, everything the Well does should lead you down the path of the 5 P's. Yeah. We got 5 P's we want to lead you down. You got them?
I have them? Passion, power, purpose, peace, and promise. Right?
That's it.
That's it. Here we go.
And so everything we do should lead you down that road. Good to see you, Dr. Lundy. Dr. Lundy's on the other half of the One Love Life Center.
Mr. Walter
That's
said
Dr. Lundy.
Oh, Lundy, yeah, big time celebrity. See?
Oh man, listen, I'm trying to be on the line with that guy. Also, I just want to say hello to the Amplify Network. Super producer Jackie is on with us. And Terrence Sams at the Amplify. So if you're not following the Amplify Network, make sure that you follow that too. They are always so gracious to us, and we appreciate them for their time.
We love you guys.
With all that said, all our Wellians, I think a good bit of our Wellians are on. Go ahead and again share this to all of your Facebook pages. Share this with your friends, and we're going to bring in our amazing panelists, including our co-host, Brennen B.
Brennen B. Hey, look at that fire squad right there. That's a fire squad right there.
Listen, Brennen B's face is taking me out here right now.
So let's go ahead and start from the bottom.
Yeah,
let's go to the co-host. Now we here. Start from the co-host, Brennen B. Let him know who you be. Once he come back.
Well, without lights right now because my puppy just knocked him out. But y'all know what it is. Black at it again. Black at it to win. I'm going to fix my lights and then y'all be able to see me, gang. Y'all know what it is.
Hey, that's pretty good. I mean, black at it. So the dog just wanted to make sure your line meant something. You feel me? Like, he put you in the black, man.
He wanted me to live my raps. I got to live my raps.
Brennen, this is a friend of yours, man, a guy in your network. I don't know if you want to share a few words, but He's over in this corner. He seems to be a good guy so far. I know anybody that Brennan brings to us is immaculate and amazing. But Brother Monte, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, man, and a little bit of that stuff with us.
Before you go, bro, I got you. It's
Okay,
Monte. Double E.
Monte,
There we go.
got you, got
Nah,
you,
but
Monte.
that's my. I mean, honestly, man, absolutely. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. But this is one of my guys, man. This is actually the dude that every time I would bring or speak to God's people through sermon. This is my guy, man. He's my number one supporter. Dude, like, I mean, I just can't say enough about him, man. Just an overall good dude, a father, a great community member, somebody that gives back. Um, you can't. There isn't enough good things to say about him, and he loves to talk, so he's gonna be great for the platform.
Sweet, sweet. Hey, listen, man, that's an awesome introduction. I hope I get that kind of introduction one day. Monty, share a little bit about us, man. About yourself, man.
Oh, real quick, I'm Monte Payne. Like I told you guys earlier, I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, but now I reside in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm a Christian man, but I'm also a recovering person, and I work with opioid addiction in Little Rock, and I've been working in the field of addiction for about 16 years straight. So that's me.
Awesome, awesome, and man, I think we're gonna hear a powerful, powerful stuff from you. I'm looking forward to it tonight, man. As I said, Brennen B never fails us with his network. The young gentleman below you is a brother of ours as well. Listen, man, I told this guy earlier, he makes me smile every time that I'm around him. You just meet good people with good energy sometimes, and this brother has an amazing energy about him. Even when he's having a bad day, he's still gonna make sure you have a good day. I love him for that. But Brother Harrison, man, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, what's up with you, and let the folks know what you're bringing tonight.
Praise the Lord, saints. Okay, no, I'm just playing. Listen, hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is My name is Harrison. Listen, we love to laugh. We're gonna do it all night long, and it's gonna get intense in a moment, and somebody's gonna laugh. It's gonna happen. Uh, but yeah, man, I definitely appreciate you all for the invitation, and definitely for this space. Again, Harrison Morrow. I am a native Memphian, Memphis, Tennessee. That's home right there, South Memphis at that. Okay, somebody stand up, South Memphis, South Memphis. But I reside now in Hyattsville, Maryland, right outside of the DC line. Loving to do ministry. I am called to be a number of things, I believe, by God. But in this season, I'm a music director at the First Baptist Church of Vienna, and I serve as a security supervisor at Echo Stage and Soundcheck DC. So yes, I am a bouncer. Yes, you can get these hands if you get out of line with these comments tonight. Praise the Lord.
My man said, "Try Jesus, don't try me." I love
Listen,
it.
okay. I told you, man, Harris is just a ball full of energy, man, and I love it. Sean Michael Wilson just signed in. Sean Michael, it's good to see you. Listen, we're having a conversation tonight that a lot of church folks, a lot of folks, period, are having around the country. We're talking about alcohol and substance use. And it in a lot of ways it's a very serious conversation. But I think we find the seriousness in it, and we try to balance it with the humor that's also in it. We're talking about it in both the recreational forms and the medical forms, and we're talking about the legalization of it. So we're gonna have a good conversation around that tonight.
We can talk about the legalization of it.
Yeah, man. And so I always tell people,
I'm ready to start some
you
trouble.
don't have to.
I'm ready to start some trouble.
You don't have to incriminate yourself on our encounter at all.
Yeah, surely don't.
So you feel free to be as open and as reserved as you need to be. But I do want to talk about and so I'm afraid to ask the first question. I don't even know if I should ask that question, but let me just ask, I guess, in a way, how have you experienced recreation of any type? Have you experienced recreation with alcohol or paraphernalia in your life, whether that be yourself or with someone else? Have you experienced it?
Is this the all around question?
Yeah, everybody. You know, it's a very open way of asking that question.
Okay. I guess
Mr. Rev, you got to give us some instructions or something.
Ryan.
Listen, I can go first.
Well, I was about to say, because I might be able to take over the whole show with that question.
My last name is Booze, so you know, like it's inherent. It's a part of the bloodline. You feel me? My grandfather owned the speakeasy. Like you know, it is life. At some point, it is absolutely something that recreationally I've done. I do drink recreationally and socially. I can't say that I am a recovering addict. I don't think I've never. I guess when I've come close to being at that point, like I've been able to pull myself back in and have some. And there goes my green screen. Shout out to my buddy. He just took me out. Nah, but we'll get all this, man. Forget all that. We're gonna keep going. Man, it's something that you know we've definitely had. I've had my struggles with. It's been in my family. I've multiple family members who struggle with addiction, specifically to alcohol. I've been cussed out by my grandmother multiple times due to alcohol. I mean, it's a part of life for my family, and this is absolutely a subject that is near and dear to my heart because I know and have worked with people like Monte and even also in my family with so many people who have struggled with it. And also that like those stories have helped me not to, move past that point.
Listen, your mom was in the comments cutting up, bro. I just need you.
Sorry.
I'm not even about to look at the comments right now. We just gonna let them.
I'm gonna try to get past it, right? Because your mom is in the comments cutting up, but I appreciate her realness.
Ooh, hey,
her realness is amazing.
I smoke, I drink. I'm supposed to stop, but I can't. Sorry, no. Now I have my drink from time to time. You know, I love my Hennessy. Yeah. Now I don't think I've ever gotten to a point where, I've gotten drunk and was about to be like, no one cuss people out, but yeah. Just drinking. I just have my Hennessy. That's it.
Yeah.
And I still have it from time to time.
Okay.
Somebody said church make you want to drink.
We can talk about definitely some pressures that will make you think a few times if you don't drink. But yeah, I have definitely.
I can say that the church has made me drink more than any other entity. I ain't gonna lie about that.
Listen, I don't know what churches y'all been going to. We need to switch it up. I can say for me, I have definitely recreationally used some, definitely smoked before, definitely drank before, but I've never been a ridiculous user to the point where I would call it an addiction. Definitely, like I said, I mean, to my own point, falling into some really tight pressure points where, you get back up against that wall, rocking the hard place, and you're like, all right, try something. And I was not, what you say earlier, 3J, was not trying Jesus, okay? Okay? But I think that was a real thing that I can, and I don't know how deep we started, but let's go for it. Because at the time, it was also like, I was preaching it and I was teaching it. I was singing it and talking about it. I mean, evangelizing, discipling. I mean, I was all in, but still in the isolation of my own reality. It was like, I do believe, but you need Jesus and a therapist too. I may need Jesus and a sip too, and that was a thing at a moment, So I was like, Lord, I need you. I need some help. So it was a mind opener for me, but it was also another realization of self. Like I have a tendency to fall into a thing if I'm not paying attention. My mind needs to be occupied so I can make sure that I stay focused on what I'm going toward.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Brendan over
Now-
his dog is just going berserk behind him, I think, and it's just. I'm sorry.
It's not winning for you, bro.
Yeah, I'm
It's not winning for you today. It's cool.
We
That
can't
backdrop
even-
looked like you in a palace. He looked like he in a palace or something.
we can't hear you, B. We can't hear you, Brennan.
Hold on, they do it.
I said I'm not winning tonight, so I got to win with the
Yeah,
conversation.
Yeah,
I feel
you
that.
not.
Yeah, you got to
It's
move the
tough.
conversation. Yeah. As you said, as far as you know, young, when I was 16 years old, living in Los Angeles, California, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I was a very scared young man, but didn't show it. And I remember the first time somebody handed me an old English 800 bottle. My buddy told me, he said, man, all these girls in here like you, man. You cute. Why you don't talk to these gals? And he's like, here, drink this. And I remember, y'all, my first drink I've ever taken, and it changed me. And I went in that party and danced with all the women in there, was leaving soaking wet, and had all the phone numbers in the spot. It was over. I had arrived. And I always tell some people that alcohol does certain people a certain kind of way. And I was one of those certain people. Because there is a class of people, and some individuals, they're sipping alcohol, sipping wine. It's a recreational drink. But there are some people that from the beginning all the way down, and I don't even want to go through. You talk about substances, man. What substances? I don't think there's a letter on the substance in the alphabet. I haven't tried, but we're not going to get into that. So
Yeah. I hear you, brother. No, this is good.
I love it. I love it.
This is good.
Warm
This is
up
good
already.
man.
yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk.
This is great. Oh, man.
So I guess I like there's so many ways I could go here, but I guess one of the things I want to know is so just right off the bat, right? I see folks in our chat that are talking very much about, I think Miss Nikki said sometimes you need the three. You need therapists, you need
therapist, Jesus, and a sip.
yeah, therapy, Jesus, therapist, and a sip. And there are folks, and I know Brennan, Mama is talking about, living with a lot of folks who have had a lot of situations with drinking. The question I think I have is for all of us, because I think we're all spiritual beings on here. Do you find that it is a place for the recreational use of alcohol or substances in the life of a spiritual being? Is that okay?
Basically, you're asking, is it okay to drink?
Is it okay to drink, but is it also okay to use different substances, right? Because it's not just
okay,
right,
got you. Okay.
So do you feel like there is space for that? Because some people will say, "Oh no, you're going straight to hell." I mean, there are churches that will preach that. There are some churches that'll say, "No, moderation." There's some churches that'll say, "Go at it, just as long as you're safe." As spiritual people, do you feel like it's? What's your stance? Where are you at?
So before everybody tags into this, when we say substance, we're talking just drugs in general.
Yeah.
We're talking as in even medicated as well.
You take it how you want to take it.
Okay, bet. That's all I want to know. Okay, we can start.
Harrison smiling.
That's how I was looking straight at his friend because I was like, I want he's going to go on that, but. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to say I want to hear Mr. Morrow. Go ahead, Mr. Morrow.
Yup, I'm looking forward to.
Y'all funny. Don't egg this on. Listen.
Bring it on, man.
So I was the former chaplain for the Howard University Community Choir. This is back in 2017, 2018. And considering that, most universities have some type of, religious affairs or department or something dealing with the chapel or but typically whatever that space is, it is interfaith, which means there is no one way of doing it. Everybody is not just Baptist or Methodist or Pentecostal or Catholic or, atheist even, but it's a bit of a lot of things to represent. I mean, and rightfully in some spaces to be able to represent larger groups of people. You can't assume everybody comes from the same backgrounds, hence the conversation we're having today. Everybody's going to have some different viewpoints. Everybody's going to worship differently. Everybody's going to believe different, right? But for this particular choir, this was a Christian-based choir, but a choir that believes the Bible. But what does that mean? And I think in order to answer this question now, as the, I always told them I ain't nobody's pastor, but as the, appointed spiritual advisor for that particular group, 30 to 40 people, it was my job to be more of a subject matter expert as it relates to our religious beliefs as it relates to the teaching and the preaching of God's word, as it relates to, discipling people who are quite lost, considering that I was sometimes the only Bible most of those students were ever opening. I was the only church doors that they were ever opening up and walking into. And for some of them, I was the only Jesus that they ever met. And I think I'm veering into your question. I think that as spiritual beings, as people who are called, which is all of us, I think we have to leave so much grace for individuals because they're not us. You don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know how I got here today. So you judging me is going to look real crazy to me. But in turn, I have to give you the same grace that I'm expecting for myself. So I think that was the first thing for me. As a spiritual being, I think we have to start with grace because we all sinners. That's what our Bible tells us. We all fall short. We all mess up. I pray it all the time. Father, forgive me because I know I done messed some stuff up. I know I have. But at the same time, you did die to create a system that I could come to you with all of my grievances, with all of my stuff, and you handle my stuff. And what did he tell Peter? Hey, follow me and I'll make you. And I think we are looking for people to follow us, trying to be perfect Jesus, and that's not what he asked us to be. He just said, try. So yes, I've done my recreational uses, and yes, I don't necessarily say that it's right or wrong, but I do say you need to have your own belief about whatever it is you are or are not doing, because not doing it is a decision as well.
Yeah.
Come on here, Pastor. I swear you
I mean,
confirmed
and
everything I
kind of
was talking today. You been taught.
to that point, I think that is, I mean, for a lot of, I mean, I know for myself, it is something that I've kind of gone back and forth on, struggle with, but it's like I think that, like I think where the problem comes in, and where I've kind of drawn my line is when it becomes more than what it is. Like when it's not recreational, when it's not social, when it is uh, 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 I mean, when it takes the place of something else that is like more important for me, that's when I notice, and that's when I feel like it is something that, hey, maybe I need to chill. Maybe you need to draw it back. You have one wild night, and not like it used to be. I would try and go every night and have a wild night and drink or whatever, but now it's like, you know what? I have one night and I be good for 2 months, sometimes. But there are also some times where it's like, fam, I had a wild day today. I just need a glass of whiskey real quick. And I'm gonna enjoy my glass of whiskey and chill. And I might be good with that. But I think it's finding that balance to where it's not and I mean I think that's with anything. I mean even like it's finding the place and knowing and understand like that line when you're crossing it or when not to cross it, and like having the consciousness to know that, like, all right, I'm at my line. If I go across here, we moving into different territory now.
Yeah.
To follow, excuse me, to follow Brandon, because I want Mr. Payne in this mean. I want him to go in on this. To follow Brandon, for me, I'm not gonna say if it's right or wrong because everybody, like Mr. Harris said, everybody has their belief. Everybody has their own thing with it. With me, going on what Brandon said, when it starts to turn you away from God, that's when it becomes a problem. And I think that is the utmost thing for me. Again, you can have your drink, but when you start making it a habit, then it becomes that main thing that it turns you away from God. That's okay. Well, I need to stop. I need to chill out. You know what I'm saying? When it becomes that real distraction, because it turns you away from God, it's going to turn you from everything else. You know what I'm saying? And you start idolizing that. You start worshiping that. So when it gets there, I think that's when that's when it really becomes the problem. Other than that, I can't say if it's right or wrong or not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Monty, I'm gonna let you go. I just want a couple comments. Mama says, "Hey, man, I think there are two parts to it in general. Anything that causes your inability to act according to what God has said is a problem. Second, if you are in leadership, your responsibility is greater. You must be an example of the way God will hold you to what you teach intentionally and unintentionally." Um, it's interesting because Helen Gaines says, "I never knew that alcohol and substances contain spirits."
True.
Until I started going to my non-denominational church. We weren't taught that anything was wrong in being Baptist, not to bring denomination into it, just speaking from experience. And then last but not least, Sean says, but in certain roles, when people are leaning on you for certain things, I do believe being in a sober mind is best. Monty, you want to go ahead and expand a little bit in your own thoughts?
Oh, that's a very good question. The church and social drinking and drugs. Me personally, just putting the word drugs in church confuses me right off the bat. And to me, it would confuse a person that need to be led. Social drinking to me is what it's called, social drinking. Mr. Morrow said something so profound. My self walk right now, it might even be, I don't know if there's 100,000s of people that are watching me and watching every single thing I do every day. Now, I'm a recovering person, and it means I'm substance free. But what if I wasn't substance free, just like my man Brennan said, and I sipped some alcohol from time to time? That wouldn't be no big deal. But for me to even be drunk, and be all right with being drunk, and I serve God. So my thing is, just like Brennan said, if I know that something is, and just like my man, I don't know, Mr. 3J, or I'm not sure, the way he said,
That's
yeah,
3J.
3J said it too. It's something separating me from my Savior. And I'm going to tell you, drugs will separate you from more than just your Savior.
Yeah.
I will tell you all about it. I was an individual that was raised in the church, raised by a strong, strong mother. But then my father left when I was 13, and she told me there was a street down there called Plymouth. She said, don't never go down Plymouth. Man, I could not wait to get down there on Plymouth. And then everything, when I started doing that, it's when I separated from the things that were good for me. So do I believe, I'm just going to put my foot down and say it, I don't believe excessive drinking, not moderate relaxation drinking. And I don't even want to get into the drugs because even marijuana is connected in drugs. And I would even say, as a recovering person and a total abstinent person, I could see some positives for marijuana, but I don't want to get into that. But I'm not going to tell you that opioid, y'all, heroin is cool. You go on and, do some heroin and you come on now. So, So moderation, and you feel separated from the power and the love. I mean, the Holy Spirit should be able to guide you anyway.
And I think one of the comment I think Sean made about, like, when you're in leadership, and people lean on you for certain things, is like, absolutely, you have to. I think that's the point that, when I lose consciousness of what's going on around me, when I lose consciousness and awareness of what's happening around me, then that in a situation, like, I mean, like, if I'm in leadership and I'm out and things like that, like, absolutely, you don't want to be the drunk. You can't be the drunk in that space because of the responsibility of your position. That I don't feel like that means you can't drink and you can't have safe spaces where you may drink more than you would if you were out. But it's like, that, I mean, you have to be conscious of that, and that comes with,
Go straight to sleep.
the position you hold.
That's an article I pulled up, but it helps me out. So it says there are 247 references to wine and strong drink in the Bible that can be divided into three broad categories: positive references, negative references, and neutral references.
Agreed.
When we will, and it talks about the fact that there are 17 warnings against abusing alcohol, 19 examples of people abusing alcohol, 3 references to selecting leaders. But then it talks about, on the positive side, there are 59 references to the commonly accepted practice of drinking wine and strong drink with meals. 27 references to the abundance of wine is an example of God's blessing. 20 references to the loss of wine and strong drink is an example of God's curse. So meaning, if you did not have wine, if you did not have drink, that was God cursing you. 25 references to the use of wine in offerings and sacrifices. 9 references to wine being used as a gift, and 5 metaphorical references to wine as a basis for favorable comparison. Total positive references 145, or 59%, to 16% negative, and then 25% neutral. So it's interesting because even the
The
Bible.
only reference I need is Jesus turned water into wine.
That's it. That's it.
So it can't
That's
be
it.
all bad. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. But it's interesting because Monty brought up something that I want to maybe pivot to a little bit too. I kind of hear like the moderation of drink, but it sounds a little more sketchy on the substance. And if you notice, I don't always say drug; I say substance on the substance side. But so we're in our country, especially, we're in a place where we're at a pivotal place, right? In a lot of places, in a lot of states, and even cities, locally, marijuana has been legalized. But we know that federally, it is not legalized yet. How are you guys feeling about, as believers and as spiritual people? How are you feeling about the push for marijuana to be legalized?
Well, it's a rough question, bro.
Legalize it. Do it immediately. And get all the people that done went to jail for selling it out of jail. Like we gotta. And I mean, it. I don't. Now again, this is again. It's. I think that this brings up the issue that sometimes we talked about on here about control. And people wanting to control people and using different methods, whether it's Christianity, laws and things like. I mean, alcohol was, illegal for a while, and then it came back. I mean, there's so many different things that, and I think that in the case of marijuana, it was used as a control for a certain community, and making it illegal. And a certain group of people that used it, I guess, in the perception more often than another group of people. But it's like I think that dives into it, and that absolutely plays an integral part in the laws that we have. But interesting point. And again, it's weird to me sometimes, but actually, 2 Republicans introduced a bill to legalize it to decriminalize it on a federal level.
Oh wow!
I mean, Cat Williams said it's just a plant, and if you just happen to set it on fire, there will be some effects, and them effects are hungry, happy, sleepy. That's it. I don't see the problem. I just don't get it.
We burn sage, don't we?
He said we burn.
Didn't Moses talk to a burning bush? I'm just.
I got 5 on me.
I'm gonna leave it alone.
Yeah, this gonna be the one. This gonna be the one the church cancels on. The church.
Listen, which platforms are we sharing this on again? Just so I know what accounts I need to delete.
Let me just make this clear. I do no drugs or anything, church. Do nothing. I'm not like the rest of those.
Respectfully, don't tag, please.
I want you to know what's funny is that when I was doing the research for this, I want you guys to know that Moses in the burning bush is actually one of the top pieces of scripture that people use to support marijuana usage. I just need y'all to know that. That's why I'm dying laughing.
I mean, didn't he see that smoke, all that weed smoke coming up, and then you gonna tell me that's not going?
Hey, listen, I ain't gonna lie. If I seen a burning bush that wasn't burning up, I would think I was high too.
He'd be like this.
Like, nah, something ain't right. Nah.
Listen,
no, me personally, let me just real quick say something about what I think is the quick question. Me personally, just like I said, I primarily work in real detrimental drug addiction individuals like myself 17 years ago, because I've been sober 17 years. I was delivered 17 years ago, but to this day, and what I know about the world now, I can't argue. I can't argue about. I would not be the person to be a proponent against it being legalized. I can't. I can't argue. I can't see. I work with so many people, and I have individuals to this day that were on real strong drugs like opiates and crack, and they are living their lives doing just fine. And when we come drug test them, they have just a little bit of marijuana in their system, and they be like, "I'll be all right." I was like, "You look like you're all right to me," all right. And then we send them on the way.
Yeah.
Can't argue with them. I mean, they comfortable and life is better. So
Yeah. I think that listen, one of the things I always tell people is just use common sense, but also kind of understand where you're trying to go in life. You know what I mean? Like, so if I now like folks that I know, they used to, nickname for me back in the day used to be Angel Piss. I'm just being real, and it was because a lot of my friends who wanted to do who did recreational drugs, when they wanted a job, they would always say, go to Ramon because Ramon got angel piss because I had not smoked. So they would always say that was the nickname they gave me. So, Monty, you understand what I'm saying?
Put it together. Thank you. You put that together for me.
Yeah. So I'm being real. Like, that's real. Like, that's what they call it. So a whole tribe
You
of
would
people
admit something like that online?
no, for real. They used to. They would definitely come to me. But I would always say, listen, there's a level of responsibility. Listen, they're going to put us off for this one. I'm already telling you that. But there was a level of responsibility that I always said, listen, if you're going out for a job, right? Like, you got to be able to get the job. Not me, you. And so I think there's a level of responsibility that you got to have. Now, again, should it be legalized? One could argue yeah. One could argue no. But whether it is or isn't, you got to hold the responsibility of your own life and your own choices and figure out what's the best choice for me in whatever situation I'm in.
Hey, shout out, you got a partner. Mr. Sean Wilson said me too. So you got.
No, he understands. Listen, but I do want to, Sean, you said something earlier. I do want to go back real quick.
Funny.
Because that's a conversation that a lot of people have. You talked about the unfermented drink. But I want to be clear about this. But in the Bible, there are so many spots where people got drunk. So even if we talk about the wine being fermented, listen, there were people in the Bible who were definitely drunk. There were parties where people were drunk. We talk about fathers who were drunk with wine, and people took advantage of them. So being drunk is not. It's not. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't act like the Bible don't talk about the fact that there were people that were drunk. I don't care how fermented or unfermented it was. It was strong enough. Right, that it can address that we know people was getting down with the get down.
And also, I mean, a lot of the, from what I've read, I'll say that from what I've read, a lot of the negative references to alcohol, being specific to alcohol and wine, is don't be drunk. Like, don't drink until the point of drunkenness, and so like that's different than just don't drink. And I think that what a lot of people have done is made it, all right, well, if I drink a little bit, I get drunk, so nobody can do it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, man, I first of all, let me put the disclaimer here first, because I think everybody missed this part. Harrison Alexander Morrow is not condoning or even supporting the use of any substance or alcohol, but that is to say that the Bible does tell us as Christians universally, right, as people, to obey the law of the land, meaning, that if it's not legal in your particular area, you going outside of legal means to obtain it, right? See, now I think we get into different types of moral codes, and now it's not just you doing the thing, it's how you even got to the point to be able to do the thing. So I think when you consider everything in its context, it's still a subjective thing. How we view God is subjective. I call myself a Christian, but so does Joe Schmo, who then hung this black man from a tree. He called himself a Christian too. So did, I believe, now I want to say Christopher Columbus, and lie, but I want to say that the Pilgrims, when they came over, were of some type of, Christian adjacent beliefs. Even we have a lot of Catholic practices in the Christian faith today. And I feel like everybody in history that has fought wars over Christianity claimed Christ as their Lord and Savior. Vowed, confessed, confessed Jesus is Lord. And I am, as a professed Bible-believing Christian, I do believe that Jesus died for our sin. Jesus died for our ignorance. He died for our negligence. I think Jesus died for the things we knew and didn't know. But at the same time, that does not mean for us to misuse the grace or to abuse the grace even. I think that is for you to say, it is for your own discernment to say, just to your point, I know if I take a shot, I'm going to be drunk. No shots for you. Liquor may not be your thing. You may need to get some grape juice and hang out like you got something else, or some apple juice at the club. You know, I understand sometimes it is a social thing. And socially, you know, I understand the is there. Okay, I'm telling you, get you some sparkling juice. There's no shame in your game because you don't do it. So I want people to understand you don't have to do this to be cool or to look cool. If that's what you have to do to impress a crowd of people, and I don't know why I feel like led to go this way, but if there's anybody watching here who feels like they have to do this or feel like this is the cool thing to do, the in thing, that is not what this is. We're here to talk about something to make sure that people are educated as much as we can. We're here to offer our own personal experiences as much as we can, and to be able to help somebody make some decisions for themselves so that you can make some better decisions in the future, so that you can edit your present right now. It's okay. It's okay. And what does Ms. Tab say? That's your business. Everybody ain't got to know what you do in your household. That's your business. And they should know everything.
Talk to him.
I second that disclaimer. I'm not necessarily supporting anybody going out there and wilding or whatever. I'm speaking about what I've been through, what I've done. And as I said, I don't wild out anymore. You know, I might have my couple of drinks, and even, you know, a couple weekends ago, actually Thanksgiving weekend, you know, some friends came in town. We went out. I probably had a few too many, but you know, got home and I haven't drunk since. I promise you. It's like I made it home safely, made sure we all made it home safely and everything like that. Of course.
That sounds like one of them Bible passages then. You sound like you had one of them Bible passages then, right? Yeah, you just, you know, and then everything was fine. Good job.
I feel like, Jackie, I feel like the Amplified Network is like, the views of the well does not necessarily represent the Amplified Network, all of its affiliates.
Yes.
We
sorry, Amplified Network. We just trying to be honest and real with the good guys.
Please. I think Jackie appreciates this. I want to switch this a little bit. I do want to say this. Miss Nikki will, I think, kind of will help us to sort of transfer to this next piece. But she says, being open and transparent, I am a person who battles with sleeping disorders, anxiety, and depression. I use marijuana, and it helps me to manage all of the things that things where pills and pharmaceuticals from doctors could not. I am in full belief of utilizing common sense and self-control, but as someone that it helps medicinally, no one can justify why it's worse than alcohol, which is legal, or tobacco that literally does kill you. Then she says, facts, Mr. Harrison, use discernment of what works best for you. Tonight's encounter is called O.D'd for overdose or open discernment, right? And I think that's the piece we want to lean into.
Hey.
Go ahead, Harrison.
No,
if I could, because I did look up just, you said what now?
I said, not if you about to give another benediction. Come on, because you, like, come on, bro. You can't keep coming like this, bro.
No, listen, we just talking tonight. But I did get some numbers though. To mention numbers, and we talked about that legalization piece. Now let's be honest, and this is again not to say in support of or not in support of, but this is to say let's look at some raw facts. That prohibition wastes a lot of public resources, while legalizing and taxing cannabis could bring in so much needed revenue. What is this? I'm looking at this note. Congressional Research Service projected that replacing cannabis with taxation and regulation could yield $6.8 billion in taxes alone. Washington State brought in taxes on cannabis sales in 2020, $600 million. One state. And in 2019, the FBI reported 663,000 cannabis arrests and citations, more arrests than for all violent crimes combined. But the data also showed that police only cleared 33% of rapes, 31% of robberies, and 14% of burglaries by making an arrest. The data showed a higher percentage of some crimes were solved after legalization in Colorado and Washington State. So in some spaces, again, right, this is let's deal with the subjectivity piece. I'm not saying every state needs to do it. I'm not saying that you should do it federally, but I am saying look at your own context and say, does this shoe fit? Or do I need to let this pass on to the next person? Because it sends a lot of individuals, a number of Americans through the criminal justice system, ruining countless lives of families, countless lives of organizations, countless lives of leaders who are exposed for doing something that in general sense, not that bad. Not to say it doesn't have some effects that could be, but that is to say in a general sense, not that bad. While the laws are also disproportionately enforced.
Thank you so much for that, Harrison.
Yeah,
Giovanni says prohibition leads to increased crime. And Kent says he pulled them facts fast.
Man,
yes,
he
he
did.
did. He did pull them facts fast.
But
I want to so talking about marijuana and talking about its legalization, and I want to say I know, and again, nobody has to say this totally how they feel. I will say I am a person who believes in the legalization of marijuana. I will make that claim and just put it out there. I am a person who believes in it for a lot of different reasons. But I am one of those people that stands behind that. I think Brennan's saying he does too.
I do too.
Absolutely.
I said it.
I want to say
I said it first.
He did. Monty, I want to come to you a little bit because you are somebody who has been on both sides of the coin. You kind of referenced this earlier, and you talked about the fact that you have gone through addiction. For a lot of us, right, who have used who have used things recreational, whether that be alcohol or substance, you've lived a life where you've experienced it a little deeper. And so that's a place that all of us aren't able to talk about or talk to. Can you just share with us kind of how you walked into that and what that was like for you to see the other side of that coin?
Ooh, that's a deep question. And I'm honored to talk about it because it's my truth. I'm fortunate. I can say I'm a very fortunate individual. I can almost put it like this: Have you ever watched the movie Snowfall?
Yes.
I love that show.
That's my story.
Wow.
And it sounds kind of bad, right? Meaning I was an individual who grew up in Los Angeles, California, and upper middle class family. We had money, but I started, drinking and smoking marijuana, and then they started coming out with cocaine and things like that nature. And I'll make this quick. I was a crack cocaine addict. I was a crack cocaine addict in Los Angeles, California, and became homeless in Los Angeles, California, to the point where I had did something to the wrong people to the point where I ended up in Arkansas because I made the wrong decision in front of the wrong people, and my parents were from Arkansas. My dad already lived in Arkansas, and I came to Arkansas, called myself hiding from the decisions that I made down there. And here's the weird thing, though, and I'm just keeping it real. I really had no relationship with God at all. I was God in my mind. That's what I was. I was God, and I didn't believe I was going to become. I didn't believe I was going to become a drug addict. I didn't believe I was going to be homeless. I came from an upper middle class. We were intelligent, very astute individuals, But cocaine has got a whole nother. It's a whole. There's no way to explain something that takes your soul from you and just leaves you barren. I was barren in a body. And when I got to Arkansas, same thing started happening down here. And by the time I met Brennan, I had went somewhere to Hoover Treatment Center. I don't know if you heard of Threads of Hoover. United Methodist Church got their hands on me, and they blew life into me with God and a relationship. And that's what was weird when I met Brennan. Brennan was a little young preacher boy, and he didn't understand why I loved him so much because he was different. And see, I was one of the people that I will say I'm the kind of person that I got into the church through the back door because you wasn't going to let me in the front door. Yeah, I'm talking about the church. You wasn't going to let me in the front door because I'm dirty and I'm stinking and I'm homeless. But Hoover Treatment Center let me in the front door. And they took me in and took care of me and understood me. So I didn't expect to become who I am. But then later in life, after I recovered and was blessed with everything else from that, I found out and realized that I went through a wilderness so I could become part of another individual. Many other individuals' changes, and that's what I do for a living. I work for people, and I listen to people cry, listen to families cry, and I work in the service. I love listening to you young men, how eloquently you guys talk and speak, and that is a beautiful thing. But see, I didn't have that as a young man. I didn't have no father figure. I didn't have none of that. I tell you what I had, though. I had a lot of folks with their hand out trying to hand me something, telling me, come on, homeboy. And then back in L.A., if you wasn't doing what everybody was saying, you was going to get one of these. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
You know, man, I appreciate your openness, your honesty about that, bro. I think there's so many people who can relate to your story. And one of the things that Kent Robertson on, he shared, he says, I can appreciate you guys talking about stuff that the church doesn't always talk about. And that's why we have this platform. Brendan, I think, said it in the chat, but that is why we have this platform, so that people can hear, and not only hear, but I think we as the church got to be willing to open our doors, right? In those times when you said we would not open our doors, that's so unfortunate, because I mean, Jesus' story by itself is a story where, right, he was talking to the folks that the folks wouldn't talk to. And we got to continue to wrestle with the fact that if we are going to be the church, capital C, then we've got to be willing to talk to the folks that other people won't talk to, be seen with the folks that other people won't be seen with, and pray and walk with the folks that people won't walk with. So it always throws me when I hear people say the church would not open their doors or wouldn't want you in or wouldn't let you. I just don't get how we call ourselves Christ-centered when we do it. Like, I know a lot of people like that. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
I'm going to say something real quick, fast. I honestly think that people are so fearful of an individual that was in the position I'm in. You can't help me, so what can I do? I can't give you but $3, and I want you to get away from me now. So a lot of it is because of ignorance and just not knowing what to do. Because a person like me needs a lot more. I mean, I need prayer, but I need a lot more than $3 and this and that. I'm gonna need some housing. I'm gonna need some. So people, you not knowing that's gonna all happen for me.
Yeah. Brendan, I think you and your mom have talked a little bit about even your own family struggles. Brendan, how do you sort of navigate through not falling into, what I'm saying? Like, how do you navigate from not falling into the sort of behaviors that you saw from your own family, man?
Man, honestly, is literally like just watching people and the effect that addiction, drunkenness, all these things have had on people. That, like we didn't had family fights over lollipops because people was drunk. Like it's like some of the silly things that happen and some of the mistakes people make. And like honestly, man, connecting with somebody like Monte, and so the only drugs I've ever done or substances are alcohol and marijuana. And like beyond that, and honestly, like when I smoked, I was like, this is good enough for me. Like I don't need to get any more elevated high. I don't need to get into a different mind state. And I think like being around it, living in Rochester, New York, being in the hood, I've seen it, I've watched it. I know what the fiend looked like. I know when I walk to the corner store and the fiend is on the corner. I know what that, and it's like I never wanted that for myself. And I always felt like if I ever went there, I was failing me. And so it was like certain things I was like, I'm not gonna do, because I knew of the potential for something to happen that I wouldn't want to happen. Now, I'd never seen somebody be a fiend off of weed. I seen people smoke too much. And so it was like, yeah, I could probably try this. And when I tried it, it was straight. I haven't had any real horrible experiences from it. But it's more so, it really is more so like just honestly sitting down, listening, sitting in groups, being, and I mean, some of it, a lot of it also was just that I didn't, like, I was in so much when I was younger. It wasn't a lot of time for me to jump in and explore a bunch of things. And also my mother being, who she is, like, it wasn't happening in the house. And, I was housebound until I was like 17, so it just wasn't, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for me to dive into some of those things early. Um, but man, just honestly seeing the effects of it, of like some of the more hard substances, um, and even with alcohol, like like I said, fighting over lollipops, and I'm sitting there thinking like, why are we fighting over lollipops and it's a whole bag inside? Like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it like really like almost like fisticuffs and people, and it wasn't the energy I was looking for in my life. Um, and so like for a long time I didn't drink alcohol. I think I was past 21. Like the first time I really had got like real alcohol and was like drunk. Like it was never really a thing for me. Because I had seen so much growing up. It was like certain things I'm just not gonna do.
I mean, it's so funny how all of us, I think, have known someone or have someone around us. I think, and I won't put that out there. What I'm about to say, 3J.
No, by all means, I'm
but
good with that.
Okay,
Nope.
so I
Go
know
ahead.
3J. For those who don't know, just lost his father. He just buried his father last week, and
Sunday.
Sunday. And 3J was not that close with his father, but I think 3J, you can even talk to the fact that like dealing with someone who had an addiction. It affected your life, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? Can you just speak to kind of like how that sort of affected you as a person?
You gotta love being a father because now my kid is actually calling me. So I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get back on in a second. But nah, the way it affected me because there's a lot of ways it affected me for real, to be perfectly honest with y'all. And the first thing was not having that father figure there. For my belief, every every boy wants his father because the father is the way we learn how to become a man. And I didn't have my father around to be able to teach me that, right? So, matter of fact, it's funny, Mr. Payne, your testimony was actually his. He stayed in LA and he literally got the same. I'm talking about when you said tents and everything, you completely threw his life all like everywhere. And I was just like, damn, like somebody else went through the same thing and he got out. So it was possible, and I knew with you doing that is thank you for that, and let me know if he would have made that decision, it would have been possible for him to get out. You know what I'm saying? However, he probably was too held. You know what I'm saying? Into what it was to the point he couldn't come out of it. And with him being that held, I missed out on having a father. I missed out on, you know what I'm saying, having that, this is how it is to be a man. This is what to learn how to learn a woman. You know what I'm saying? This is how it is to be strong. I didn't get those things, right? I didn't get those whatsoever in the physical sense. And I'm saying the physical sense because he was not there physically. However, the mental teachings were still there, even though he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? The last time I saw my father was, except for Sunday, was 2009 at my grandfather's funeral, his father's funeral. And so, even with seeing him then, we had a little talk, but still, you not being here still taught me what to do, which was the main lesson that I have now, how to be a father to my child. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, it played a heavy effect just with him not being there. Because as a boy, you miss a lot. You know what I'm saying? Just like a girl not having her mother around, learning how to be a woman, you miss a lot from that because that's our first teacher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Until we understand that God is the actual teacher, he's being used through him. But to his own on that one.
And even
Thank
hold
you,
on real
3J.
quick, because I've seen the other side. Even though I've lived the other side where my pops was like one of the biggest drug dealers in the town, and like went to jail, for dealing drugs, and like I didn't
Yeah.
have him for however long, and we just now are starting to kind of reconnect and build our relationship. But if like that was I mean, it wasn't necessarily the same, but like the effect was the same of it. Like I didn't have pops growing up to show me and to learn and to do all of these things. And I ain't even gonna lie, I might not have taken a bunch of his examples anyway, because he got his own issues. But hey, listen.
I Monty, if you're talking, we can't hear you. I see your mouth moving. I don't know if you're talking to us though, brother.
I was gonna say something, man. Real 2 seconds to 3J. You said when you talked about me, and then I'm gonna talk about, and you talked about you, and I'm gonna talk. I had 3 sons in my addiction, and brother, it drove me, man. And when I was using, I would sit places, man, and cry and want to give up and want to do more drugs because I wasn't fathering my kids. I was terrible. People would tell me, man, what is it? What would you could have whatever you want right now. I just want to be a daddy, dude. I just want to have me a piece of house and have my kids where they can sit in there and watch the game together. That's all I really wanted, So let me just tell you, man, it ain't like that. It's that soul tie that drug has on you. Brother, believe me, I said it before I even started telling my story. I was fortunate, brother, because it was like almost genocide in Los Angeles when that crap came through there. Them folks put that stuff out there on us, man, and we just jumped on it, didn't know what it was, and we lost almost half of us, man, almost fortunate, so many families. So believe me, bro, I felt you, man, talking, man. You remind me of talking about my oldest son that I lost all that time with, brother. All right.
It's so interesting to hear this, Harrison. I'm gonna come to you, man. So is a person who has not walked down that road, right? But and I'll say we because I have two. We've used we've used alcohol recreationally, but whatever we choose to use recreationally, where what you talked to the folks earlier. How do we find that balance, bro? How do we tell people? How do we as spiritual beings find that balance? What do you say to folks, right? Like how? Because there are people who are watching that possibly might have their own struggle, might be right there on the edge, and some, what do you say as somebody who can recreationally use it and pull yourself back? How do we find that balance, bro?
I'm gonna take us a little Bible, uh, because I think one of the things that Jesus does really well in his time is show us that there's some good in the worst of us and some mess in the best of us. And I think one of the perfect people that most of us can relate to is Peter, because in what is the scripture, Mark chapter 1, Jesus initially tells Peter on the boat, right? He's walking by the seashore. Hey, follow me and I will make you a fisher of men. So I'm going to take what you've already been doing and I'm going to put it in a new place and I'm going to get you the intended result that's going to give God glory. But at the same time, it's going to train you to get to the purpose that God's already planned for you from the beginning. So I think there has to be a space where we release whatever it is to allow God to do whatever he's going to do for us. Because if it is getting in the way of him, that's where I think we find the word that I always talk to people about, even in my chaplaincy, dependency. When what you do becomes a dependency, I think we touched on it earlier about the idolatry. Sometimes I think we look at idolatry as this big, the Bible describes it when when God confused the tongues of the people, that they were worshiping idol gods. They were worshiping literal statues, like literal gold and right. They were worshiping things but like bowing, and they had full practices, full services dedicated to this. And I think some people take that out of context because what we do in a lot of ways, even in some churches, is idolatry. And it is not biblical
You're
whatsoever.
all
And that
right.
is not what we are today. So don't nod your head like y'all agree. That is not what we're preaching on right now.
Well,
But
yo,
we are
stop
not
it.
going down that rabbit hole. What we are saying, though, is that while there are some distinctive differences, I think there is definitely a thin line there's a thin line with the word that you use, balance. But I got a broken record, subjective. I think that is on an individual basis. I think
Yes.
that when you start talking about discernment, I think I know my limits. Right. I think, but I also think that limits change. I think that as we grow, we should begin to know ourselves first. That means I have to know what puts me in a certain state of mind. I have to know what God has called me to do. And then what y'all talked about earlier, who's watching me? Because we are not going through these things for ourselves. We are not being blessed just to be blessed. Everything that we
Come
have
on.
and everybody, every thing that we are becoming, I think it's for other people as well. So we have to really be careful about who our audience is. The people that are watching Harrison at this moment in this season, what I do in my own personal time does not necessarily affect them as much. Not in the particular area that we're talking to now. What does affect them is how I'm going through the storms financially, how I'm going through the
Yes.
storm in relation to other people. So again, me being the only Bible that some of my friends ever open, it's not always about
Come
having
on.
a positive report for them, but it is to say, how are you walking through this thing? That's
Yeah.
not to say I'm
And I
always
think
doing it right, but at least I'm doing my best to have a
Harrison,
good heart and a solid mind around that.
Harrison, to that point, I think that's one of the things I learned about myself, even in Little Rock, and what Monty mentioned. It was like I'm different, and it was like literally that's where I found like I created really the space for myself to just be me, and like to explore what that meant. Like I didn't really know, and it was like Monty met me when I was on that journey of like who do I want to be? Because yeah, I listen. I I'll be honest. For a long time, I absolutely thought I was going to be the preacher boy, like, choir boy, the angel piss guy. Like, I thought I was going to be that. But, like, honestly, in my life and understanding, and even as I process some things, like, I learned some of my limitations. Like, I learned sometimes through failure that, and making the mistake of going too far, I learned my limits, and it was like I can still be me. I don't have to remove myself from these things, because and I think part of it is knowing my family. Like, I have to be okay around these things. If I want to spend time with my family, I gotta be cool around weed. I gotta be cool around drinking. Like, I can't. It can't be something where it's like if that happens, I can't be there. And so it's like I had to learn for myself. This is absolutely
That's
something.
right.
Like, these are people I love. These are people I want to be around. These are people like I cherish, and so I have to find in myself where my lines are, and I'm not gonna cross them. I don't like one of the things like my mother. She is. I mean, I think she's seen me drunk twice, and I wasn't crazy drunk. I just like I was feeling it. I was a little tipsy. She's never seen me high. And so it's like certain things. My nieces, my nephews, they've never seen me drunk or high, and it's like understanding. Like, all right, if I'm going into these spaces, absolutely I can enjoy myself, but there are limitations, and there's limitations because just of who I am and who I want to be, who I want to
That's
represent
right.
myself as. To my nieces and nephews, I don't want them to see me in that way. I don't discourage them from doing it. I tell, like, I talk to them in a manner of, listen, you have to make your decision for yourself. You have to build it, and you have to build in your system of, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do, and be okay with that. Whatever it is, be okay with that, and be okay with whatever consequences come from that. And there could be good ones, but it's like you like what Harrison said is absolutely true. You got to build in your limits, and know them, understand them, and own them. And like, don't be mad at them. You can't look at them as like I'm losing something if I set this limit for myself. No, you're literally just saying, this is who I want to be, and being that.
Yeah.
If I
I
could say
think
something
so.
before we, just to your point, I'm so sorry, Rev.
Please, please,
Just
please,
right
please,
there,
please.
because stop it, because that's exactly where I'm going. That's crazy. Uh, to your point, bro, and I'm gonna finish what I started because I wasn't going to, but I feel, bro, you just went right into it. The Proverbs 22 tells you what: train up a child in the way that they should go, not the way that they would go, not the way that the flesh wants you to go, but the way that they should go. Right? That's a decision. Train them up in the way that they should go, so that when they grow old, they won't depart. That does not mean that they won't depart.
Right.
That does not mean that they're not going to depart from your household and from your vision, but that does mean that the information won't depart from their heart or from their mind at the time that they're going to need it. That's going back to Peter, right? That was in Mark 6. But in John chapter 1, Jesus has died and come back. What did the Bible say? Peter said, I'm going fishing. Peter already dropped the nets. He got off the boat, giving that up. Jesus died, and now Jesus gone. I go a fishing. In the words of
I'm
T.D.
going back
Jakes,
to what I
that
know.
means I'm going back to what I used to do, or going back to what I know, going back to what feels good. That is where dependency is. Peter was dependent on what he knew rather than who he knew. And that right there, in my mind, it's an addiction. It's a
Yeah.
dependence. He
Yeah.
was trained in a way. That doesn't mean he left, but that also does not mean that Jesus didn't love him no more. Because at the end of that Bible chapter, you hear Jesus preaching to him. He's saying, love my sheep, feed my lamb. He's giving him 3 clear instructions. He is still instructing him, which means what? He got grace, bro. Back to my first statement. We have to start with grace. And reconciliation and grace have to continually be in our mind if we're going to talk addiction, substance, if we're going to talk changing a system, if we're going to talk legislation, we have to keep grace, I think, at the forefront. And again, I hate to sound so preachy, but y'all covered a host of topics right in there. Let me put my piece. That has to be a consideration. Got to be.
Your piece. Your piece. Your
Listen.
piece.
Harrison,
Huh.
just for
That was a
people,
piece.
just for
Lord
people who
have
don't
mercy.
know, Harrison was my musician at the Bridge. But I always say he was more than my musician because if the Methodists won't let me say it per se, but I will say it. I always say Harrison was my right hand preacher. He was really my associate pastor over there, and Harrison, man, just has this call, but he already know. Brennan and 3J, I need you to hear from me. I've already told Harrison he's a part of the Well Squad.
Squad.
There's a word in his mouth.
Gang.
And he
Nah,
need
he
to
gang.
he need to go.
That's gang.
He need to go ahead and share
we,
more.
we ain't gotta have no vote or nothing. That's gang.
Yeah, it's all right there. Gang.
We got a lot of comments. I know Mama says, I don't drink now because on my 21st B-day I got so drunk I scared myself sober. I love it. I love it. Miss Nikki says, and we shouldn't allow others. Brendan's face was amazing, man. Brendan's face was amazing, but knowing that's his mama, I love it. Miss Nikki said, and we shouldn't allow others to shame us for the self-regulation we place on ourselves or the comfort we have for ourselves. Jordan is right there with you. Harrison, she says, yes. I love Jordan. I think that is what, and I want to add to this and say, and Monty, I'm going to come to you in a second to ask you a question. I want to say that I think that part of it also is being vulnerable enough to expose our own selves and when we're people of faith, so that other people can hear the testimonies. I see the comments coming in repetitively, like, oh, like you guys are talking about stuff, we don't normally get this conversation. I think the Well's done that all year, right, or since its existence.
Gang.
I think seriously, like, and that's why I had to go back and say, no, I do support the legalization of marijuana. I also want to kind of also say, I'll come clean and say, in drinking alcohol, yeah, I've had my nights, especially when I was younger, when I got, I got a little piss poor, made it home by the grace of God. We don't talk about grace of God enough. But God's grace sustained me, and I'm grateful. And because God's grace has not always sustained everyone. There are people who have met the end of their life, right, without that grace. And so public forum to say thank you, God, for that grace. But you have to realize you are taking the chances when you walk out there. And so again, right, it is about being responsible. It's one word that we use was moderation. I want to use another word, which is responsibility.
Yeah.
You have to be responsible enough to know, right, what your limits are. You have to be responsible enough not to put yourself in a place, right? You think about the moment when Jesus is tempted by the devil, walks up on the mountaintop. Devil says, but God got you, right? Throw yourself. The Bible, and the devil quotes the Bible. If you throw yourself out, will not the angels support your fall, right? And Jesus then comes back and says, but the word also says, right, do not tempt the Lord my God. We have to be wise enough and use our discernment enough to say, look, yeah, I believe that God's grace holds me. I believe that God does protect me. I'm also not stupid. And I also know that God don't want me tempting him by going out here and doing something stupid, right? He would much rather I just obey from the beginning as opposed to going and putting myself out there and acting stupid around it. So I think Thank you, Miss Nikki. Self-control.
Man,
I think we have to practice
we need to
self-control.
teach self-control.
We do have to teach self-control.
We do not teach self-control enough in the church, and that's why I believe that's why we just, if you do this, you sin, and no self-control to it at all. But
we teach rules in the church. We don't
Salute.
teach. We teach rules, like you don't do this. We teach the 10 Commandments. That's how we teach, rather than
I thought y'all teach tradition.
Well, it's a tradition of rules. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even if we look at Christ, if we look at Christ's ministry and even how he went about it, like it wasn't necessarily that rules weren't the case, but it was like, listen, we dealing with people that have the right to make their own decision. Like, we are here right now and not in the Garden of Eden because God gave us the right to make our own decisions. We have to prepare people to make those decisions, not give them rules to try and live by.
And that's just like in my situation. If I finally get delivered from a hopeless state of mind and body, why would I be a fool enough to go back? But people go back.
Deep.
That's
deep. That's deep.
People go back every day. People say, man, I know you. I keep telling them, man, I take it one day at a time, brother. Man, you think you're going to do it tomorrow? I'm like, man, I ain't worrying about tomorrow, man. I'm just taking care of today. You know? Because guess what? If I touch that stuff, I'll lose. I tell people to this day, Brennan knows I got a nice home I bought. It's on the corner house.
And a nice truck that I want.
You're not cousin, your neighbor. No, just like,
if I touch it, this is the truth. This is the honest to God truth, y'all. If I take one drink, I lose everything I own probably in 3 weeks. Wow. Every single thing will go in 3 weeks. Dang. That's all it'll take. And see, that's another thing. My man up there said we were responsible. I mean, and what if I could have knew God's grace was this good when I was 18? You know what I mean? What if I knew if I kept following his directions and I would have the natural high? Because most people use because they don't like the way they feel, so they want to change the way they feel. And as soon as they change the way they feel, they realize what they changed the way they feel for ain't changed, and then I made it worse, and they just do it again and again, and in a big spiral. And we come back, we wake up and look at y'all and say, y'all just don't understand. The truth of the matter is everybody understands, but do you want to stand?
Monty, I can't let you go without asking you this. So how did you, because we've talked about you going into the addiction, can you just talk a little bit about coming out of the addiction, right? What was that process like? Did you just wake up one day and go, okay, I got to stop? Or you know, what happened that you decided, and let me ask this, how many years were you struggling with the addiction? And when you, and what was the deciding factor? Like, what made you go, okay, enough is enough?
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I had to go to a treatment facility. But watch this. I went to 10 treatment centers. I would go to a treatment center, then I would go to jail, then I would be homeless, then I would go to a treatment center, then a treatment center, then a treatment center, then jail, then homeless. So that's like telling you what happened. And that was a 17-year experience from the time I started using drugs. I have a son that became an adult when I was using. And I never in life thought I was ever going to be able to be his father again. I never changed his diaper and never did anything with him. And the weird thing was, Brennan met him when I got married.
Shout out my boy Aaron.
But that just lets you know reconciliation does happen. But how did it happen? The honest to God truth, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is crazy. I wanted to have nothing to do with God, period. Because I was raised in the Church of Christ. And when I was raised in the Church of Christ in Los Angeles, they didn't have no music. They didn't have no tambourines or nothing. And all the people over there on Crenshaw was doing all they ballet, dance. And I come to church and they be like, how great thou art. So the last thing I wanted to do was go to some white man God to try to change my life. And then guess what treatment center I ended up at last?
Hoover.
A treatment center that was connected to a church that had people like Brennan walking through the treatment center, speaking to people, had people, and I'll tell you right now, I don't want to have nothing to do with God now, but I could not argue running into a Harrison. They would have a guy like Harrison come into the thing and preach, and you sit there and listen to some young cat sound good, and he looking happy, and you sitting there thinking, what in the hell is wrong with him? And the next thing I started realizing is all these people they had the Holy Spirit. And it was times that I would be in homeless crack houses with no lights. And I used to say to myself, this ain't you, man. This ain't you, man, Monte. You bigger than this, Monte. You need to get out of here. And then one day, my daughter came up to the treatment center and she had like $6, $7. Remember Shapiris, Brennan? She was a baby. She was like 9 years old. And she snuck up to the treatment center to give me some change. And she said, here, Daddy, I had to get this for Mama because she didn't want to bring it to you. And man, I went upstairs to that treatment center, man. I told myself, man, I don't care what it takes. I ain't touching no more nothing. I don't care what it takes. I ain't touching nothing. Next thing you know, I was doing the helping in the church. I was ushering in the church. I had put my gloves on. I'm a fake it till I make it or something. Next thing you know, I was and then next thing you know, I was a lay servant. The next thing you know, I was doing all these things, following other individuals, strong male individuals like Reverend Robinson, Bishop May, and all these people that were pastors then, and that was all it was. That was all it wrote. You think I'm gonna touch some drugs, man? Now you boy better get somewhere. I got that spirit up in me, man. What? That's what happened. Sorry, I got a little excited.
I love it. Giovanni said, laugh out loud, gloves and all. You meant that.
I'm going to be a soldier for Jesus. Watch it.
Listen, I know that's right.
Something got a hold of me, okay? Yes.
I love it. Miss Nikki, I think she has this perfect line here. Jesus asked the man, do you want to be healed? We have grace, but we still have to choose to receive it. Come on here, Miss Nikki. That's a word. That's a word. That's a word.
That was a word. Woo!
You know, this has been amazing, and you know, I will admit that we talk so much about the church having a bad rep. I want to believe that we, as the church, are giving the church, capital C, a better reputation. That is what the well really is about. Is that we want to be able to talk about this stuff. And so again, I found that I wasn't gonna, you know, I kind of strayed away from some things, but I want to be vulnerable enough because so many times people don't hear from their pastors, but there's a truth that needs to be spoken. There are all sorts of people in the Christian faith, leaders and non-leaders, who do practice self-control over certain things, whether it be that they are you know, in certain types of relationships, or whether it be that they are smokers or drinkers or partiers even. And you know, I don't mind a good party. Matter of fact, when I got hired at my last church, I was very clear with them. I said, listen, if you see a picture of me at a bar, it is me at the bar. It ain't nobody else. It is, and I think, Harrison, you probably heard me preach that when I got to the bridge. I said, it's me. You know, I got a friend who bartends at there's a young lady who owns her own private like stripper thing, and he bartends. I never forget when he asked me to first come, and I was like, bro, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be in there. But it's so interesting because I just had a conversation with her the owner not too long ago. I said, if you ever need somebody to pray over your girls is before they go out, let me know. And listen, I'm a man. It's not that I don't, when I'm there, I don't see things that I enjoy, but I wanted her to know that I'm willing to pray over, and pray over, the young ladies, before they go on the set. Also, I gotta be real. Also, last but not least, 2 weeks ago, I was at a DC spot that does karaoke. Was drinking. A lot of the other folks in there were drinking. I wasn't drinking heavy, but I was drinking. Man, a young lady's birthday. It was karaoke, and I got the videos for this, man. And end of the night came, and literally, it's a true story. 2 weeks ago, I felt God say, and I kind of like to be inconspicuous. I don't like to be the preacher in the spot. I hate that sometimes. Young lady who started, they sang Lauryn Hill's from Sister Act at the very end, Joyful Joyful. Did Joyful Joyful, and you could feel the spirit in the air, right? So I walk up, true story. I walked up to one of the young ladies who could sing, and I said, hey, do you mind leading us in total praise? This is at the karaoke bar. And she said, this young lady had not sang all night, but I knew she could sing. She was like, she said later to me, she said, the moment you asked, I knew God had wanted me to. She said, she stopped, she would not sing during the day because she's like, her voice wasn't ready. She absolutely told me immediately yes. Long story short, they put Total Praise on karaoke. And before you know it, the whole bar was in a praise moment. I mean, the young lady whose birthday was, she had just turned 50. She was in the corner of the stage, right, just shouting. And we had this beautiful prayer moment. I was reluctant to do that because I'm like, yo, like I come here and I be low key, my hood on and everything. And I could tell God was like, you ain't getting away from this one. I was like, nah, like my cover's low. I'm trying to be David in the cave. And God's like, nah. But I want to share that moment to say it's transparency. I think transparency is important, and I would be the hypocrite if I was not transparent in my ministry and saying, hey, I still go to parties, I still club every now and then, I still take a drink every now and then. My friends, right? All of my
We
friends.
going to the go-go.
Listen, when you come up, bro, it's done deal. It's done deal. So I think this is important on our platform to say, I think that I'm surrounded by, on this particular encounter, 4 brothers that were willing to keep it real. And you can see that there's a balance in our lives. And balance is important in your life. Self-control is important in your life. So with that being said, man, is there anything that you just feel like, listen, Jordan said, which go-go, Brennan? Which go-go we going to? Hey, Jordan, look, if you know one, he's coming up next week. So let me know.
Next week.
Because he's trying to go to a good go-go in here in DC. So let me know, Jordan, if you know which one. And I know I probably need to call Eddie, too, because Eddie will know, too.
Hey, the next one that they host the Echo Stage, y'all let me know. I can make sure we, find a spot for y'all somewhere in there.
Got you. As we close out, Harrison, Monty, 3J, Brennan, is there anything from this conversation that you listen? Miss Nikki says she want to go too. Is there anything in this conversation that you guys just want to share as we're closing out that's just on your heart?
My last thing I'll say, man, and the comments of everybody, like honestly being surprised and even appreciative of our openness and transparency. I think one of the things I hold near and dear to my heart, and is why I'm so transparent and able to do this, is we don't overcome just by the blood. We overcome by the blood and the word of our testimony. We have to share our experiences, share how we got over, how we missed some things, how we, avoided some issues, and it's facts, because like I've shared, like I have overcome some of just my hereditary, I guess. Some of the things that are just in my bloodline.
We were still hearing you, Brennan.
I'm back. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Some of the things that are just like in my bloodline, as far as like addiction, things like that. Like I've overcome it, not just by Jesus, but also by listening to people like Monty, by watching the experiences of friends, family, and just people I've been around, like, and it's why I can make the choices I make today, and why I set the limits I do. And so in order for me to make sure that someone else can do that, I have to share my story. I have to share my experiences, things I've seen, share my testimony, so that when you get Jesus, you can also take this story with you and hopefully pair them two together and make the best choice for you.
I'm gonna go ahead and say mine real quick before Monte and Harrison get the benediction. Monte, I'm sorry, and Harrison get the benediction. I have to, first of all, thank all of y'all for accepting the transparency that we all gave, because y'all didn't have to whatsoever. So we thank y'all for that. And what I will leave with is something that Mr. Harrison said. If it's not for you, don't do it. It's not nothing about making you cool or nothing like that. Just don't do it. If you know somebody that is in a struggle with it, don't dare turn away from them. Help them. That's what we're supposed to do. Don't stick your nose up at them. Don't say, oh, you this and you dirty. No, help them. You know what I'm saying? And for the ones that do it as well, and for recreation, understand self-control. And that's all I have for it.
Yeah. Monty, can't hear you.
I said I think I might go next so we can let Mr. Harrison finish up strong with a good old. Y'all know he gonna do it. Y'all know he gonna kill us. So I'm just gonna say this, and it's kind of weird because it's a little bit off of the subject, but I'm just gonna say it because y'all said that somebody have something that they I didn't know what this was gonna be at all about, but I didn't know it was gonna be all African American men together talking. Do you know how that's never, hardly ever, that's nothing that you see on a regular basis. Men opening up their hearts and opening up their, their spirits and talking about life. And one thing that I wanted to do more than anything in the world, and I asked God to bless me, is when I was able to get sober, but then I was able to help my son get his degree, go to college, and break the stigma of my home family being alcoholics, uneducated. And my son is married with his wife and he's educated, and he's going to make sure his children are educated. And my other kids, don't always let them understand that God comes first, but you better take care of your kids and kiss your kids and stay in your kids' life because they need you. I believe a woman can raise a man, but it ain't nothing like a father in a child's life, because I needed that in my life. So I'm going to let y'all go. I had a great time, y'all. Come on, Mr. Harrison.
Come on, let's get it.
Listen, y'all done put all the pressure on me, man. Golly. So I have to echo, man. I gotta echo you, brothers. It has been an absolute honor to just be here, just to share, to really listen, man. Y'all paying attention. I just been soaking up information from y'all for real. It's been really cool. Ray, I appreciate you for the extension invitation, brother. Always a pleasure. There's a quote by Paul. I think his name is like O.D'd, something like that. And this quote says, "You drown not by falling into a river, but by staying submerged into it." And I think that is to say that most times we don't find ourselves in trouble the first time that we do something. We usually find ourselves in trouble the second or third time that we, at times feel like you can get away with something. So my mom used to describe lying to me as a child. She'd say, it may not be the first time you get away with it, but whatever's in the dark, y'all know the saying, at some point it's going to come to the light, right? That was her rationale with me. So I knew in that moment that lying was wrong. So for me to do what I did, having knowledge of that, right? We know better, we do better. I made a conscious decision to not do better. And it proved, hard head make a soft butt. Some of that lying definitely came back. Some didn't, right? Got away with some of the stuff. And I feel like, some people on one side take gambles with substance use and with alcohol use and all that, taking a gamble in their heart knowing that it doesn't feel right. In their heart knowing, some of us knowing that God is saying, that's not for you. That's not you. Don't look at them. I'm not talking to them. Because it sounds like the children of Israel in the Bible, right? They had all these different stipulations that God put just on them. Why? Because they were his people. There were some things you just not going to be able to do. And I'm just speaking to people like myself that just can't do everything that everybody do. I can't speak to all the crowds that 3J and Pastor Ray, Brennan, and Mr. Monte. I can't speak to y'all's crowds, but I can speak to some people I know that need to hear what I got to say on that moment. You're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. It's hard. But let me tell you, if I could offer any piece of advice, if y'all remember anything for the most part that I've said all night, is the word evaluate. I think that we all have a responsibility on a Christian basis and just as an average human in a regular day to evaluate every space that we're in, to evaluate everything that we are and are becoming, to evaluate everything that we have, then to evaluate as it relates to this discussion, how much does this matter to me? How much weight does this really have on my life? Because to Mr. Monte, that one drink in 3 weeks could cause everything that he has built up over a lifetime to come crashing down. But for Harrison, a drink in 3 weeks could mean not that much. So again, taking an evaluation of how much of this means to me. Like, what is everything in my life meaning? Not just because mom and daddy said so. No, because that would give God no relation to you. That would give him no meaning in your life. That would put no weight on him, on his word, on his promises. But for me to say I know him for myself means the world to everything that you believe, to everything that Harrison believes. That's the core belief. But I can't say that because mama taught me that. I got to say that because I went through the struggle, and I can say that God brought me through that. I can say that could nobody get on their knees and pray harder than Harrison because God wasn't going to do it till he heard from me. No way. So I know there is not only a God, but he's my God. So if I can offer Christ to anybody today, listen, man, that's a God that is willing to accept you where you are and to take you from there. With all your mess ups, with all your stuff, he's a God that is willing to accept you with all your stuff.
Listen, I 3J is doing goldfish at the screen. I just want you to know
Monty,
this.
we might need you to get your gloves. Monty, we need you to get them gloves because we got to pass that offering plate around. You feel me?
That's it. That's it. Listen, just real quick shout outs. I want to say Monty and Harrison, you guys have been a blessing. If you look at the comments, even if you go back and look at the comments, people are just saying how much they've just loved you all. Jordan, when you were talking, Harrison said she quickens. I want you to know that, and so Mama and Brennan, I don't know if you remember Mama Sheila Dent, who was on, but Jordan is her daughter. Yeah. And so Mama Reverend Dent has already said she's coming to the Go-Go as well. She said that on YouTube, so I just need you to know that too.
It's lit. We're going to have all the DC at the Go-Go.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you, the whole well crew, the whole well at the Go-Go.
Hey, you know what's crazy? All of my Memphis family is going to be here for the holiday in about a week and a half. So if y'all can just hold on a few more days, listen, we can have a real party. Yeah.
Listen, this has to be the first time that I think 3J and I have been outnumbered by the Southerners on here today. Because we got all Southerners represented.
No, I'm not a Southerner. Don't do that. I'm not a Southerner. I'm from up north.
Right, he moved down.
That's right.
Hold on. Where's he from?
Right.
Hey, bro.
I'm from New York.
New York.
What part?
Rochester, New York.
Oh, okay.
South Central LA. What you talking about?
Oh, wow.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that's not the South. Yeah, that's not the South.
Listen, I'm gonna get off here because I know Amplify Network, we've taken their time.
Yep.
That being said, you guys, it does cost us to put this on. So if you guys would consider donating, all the folks who have watched all of those, and not only consider giving, but if you would consider becoming a reoccurring giver, meaning that you can put aside something per month to give to the well generously and continuously, we would really appreciate it because we do pay like the Amplify Network. We are trying to launch and broaden our ministry. So everything that you can give helps. And you can do that in two ways. You can text to give. Text any amount just like it is there in that picture to 84321, and it will lead you through several sort of prompts. You can easily just go and you can put you'll follow the prompts to the well, and that's how you can give. You can also go to our website as you see it there at www.encounterthewell.org, and there is a there is a tab on there for giving, and you'll find that as I just put in the chat on both YouTube and Facebook. Listen, we've had a
Also,
blessed night.
one more thing, like another way y'all can support us, and absolutely and support y'all community. Share these conversations. We are all
Yeah,
saying that these
absolutely.
conversations need to happen in more places. If for no other reason than to show people that you can have these conversations in a civil manner and it don't have to turn up into an argument or a back and forth between people. We can agree to disagree, any of that. Like just sharing these with people so that they can see that the church, the church, we are having these conversations and being open, honest, and transparent throughout it. Like that's really what this platform is about.
As well
If I
as
could
you
say
can
one
also
thing in relation to this, sorry.
Pastor. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm stepped down.
Man, I'm sick of you. I was looking at at some things preparing for this as well. On the I think the more I don't necessarily know that they're government, but there's a national hotline called the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA. It's a national hotline that's free, it's confidential, 24/7, 365 days a year. It's a treatment referral and information service in English and in Spanish for any individuals or families that are facing mental and or substance use disorders. That to say, there are resources out there on that side, but then there are also resources, therapists and counselors, psychologists and psychiatrists, people to talk to, that are not there to judge you, but are there to help walk you through whatever it is that you're going on in your life. If you feel like you have nobody to talk to or no way to get to those resources, I know the Well would absolutely be a great resource. But if you don't want to reach out to an organization, I can't speak for any of these gentlemen, but I can speak for myself. Shoot me a DM at I am Harrison M on Instagram. Shoot me a Facebook inbox message or email me at hmorrow17@yahoo.com. Like, it does not matter. And I'm saying this kind of quickly because y'all can pause and go back and get the information. But just so that you know, there are resources out there for us that look like us, to us. But even for those that are outside of that space that you need something a little bit larger and broader to help you, man, listen, they're out here. So don't feel like you're alone. Don't go into your hole and isolate. There's help.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why Harrison is such a big part of the Well already. Because I listen. You just don't know it, bro. You to me are just you already in, man. You already squad, and we
That's
need
game.
people like you,
He
bro.
about to be a regular.
Listen, it's signed, and done. So
Hey,
so
y'all
so
funny.
you already
Thank you.
see, we got approval already. Monty, we have loved you, man. Everybody, we have loved you having you on again. Jackie, Amplify Network. I apologize for going over tonight. I think it was such a great conversation. Follow us on all of our social media, our Instagram and our Facebook at Encounter the Well on both places. You can replay this, share this with somebody. I know folks who are going through addiction too. I will be sharing this. Please make sure that you share this as well. And lastly, Jordan says, Harrison, you got her vote, but Monty, you got her vote too. You guys are now Well Squad, and we love you and appreciate you. Until next week, we'll be on next week, and that'll be the last Well for the year. Make sure you join us, and then we will see you guys again in 2022. But come back next week, and we love you. And until then, there's nothing that you can do about it. Peace out.
Gang, gang.
Wee.
Can't leave that open. No, I gotta go.